Hey guys, Greg Robbins. I want to give you guys a tip answering a question from last week. People asked about whether the butt coming off the bench in a bench press was bad and how do you keep it from happening. It's probably bad if it's super excessive where that butt is coming way off the pad, but a little bit of butt lift, if we're not looking at a power lifter where that's part of competition that they need to keep the butt down, is probably fine, because the truth of the matter is I don't think any even power lifter is really sitting their butt on the bench. They've just positioned themselves in a way that when they drive, the butt doesn't appear to lift any higher than it already is. So how do you fix it? There's probably two ways to fix it that come to mind right away. And the first is your positioning, and the second is how you're applying force to the ground. So let's look at position first. If you lie down on the bench and your feet are too far away from your body, people might have the tendency to push more, okay? Or if they're too narrow, it's also easier to push up if they get off their heels. So a quick correction, it might work, it might not, depending on the person. It works a lot of times is to just get people a little bit further back with their feet and possibly a little bit wider. So if I can lift my butt, way off the bench in this position and I get wider, it becomes a lot harder to do the same thing just based on my position. The second thing is, how am I applying force? If I'm pushing through my heels straight up, then my butt's gonna lift up like a glute bridge, as opposed to almost trying to drive the floor away from me and out from the bench so that it sets my arch harder and pushes my traps back into the bench. So instead of pushing straight up, I wanna push back, almost like I'm trying to slide on the bench pad. If I'm arched enough, I won't slide, I'll just dig in a little bit harder and add to that drive on the bench press. So give those two things a try if you're having trouble getting people to keep their butt down on the bench. And remember, if it's not a powerlifting competition, the tiniest bit of butt lift probably isn't a big deal at all.